UNC and the academic scandal. University of North Carolina is an institution of higher learning and is known to be a very prestigious and academically challenging learning environment. The sports programs are also known to be as challenging in the sports realm since the school's sports programs are a part of the National Collegiate Athletic Association. The sports programs are categorized as Division I sports in college, which means they are the most elite athletes in the eyes of the coaching staff that recruited them. The athletes not only at UNC, but all NCAA division schools are held to a certain standard when it comes to student athletes, academically and on the stage performance, which at UNC had been under investigation for allegations of academic scandal. It has been an ongoing 7 years since the trial started. The allegations were that some of the athletes were placed in classes that weren't held to the standard of collegiate academia. It is to be believed that some of the paper classes benefited student athletes attending the university. This was seen as such a controversy for a couple of reasons. One reason is because the NCAA panel created a system that will not and would not indulge in special treatment towards any student athlete. So specifically that there is a whole section in the rules and regulations handbook prevents this. Another reason is that with reports of former athletes taking easier classes to maintain eligibility, the NCAA had no choice but to open an investigation. The main findings leading to the NCAA's investigation, besides reports from former athletes, was that a previous find that easier paper classes were occupied by the attendance of entirely to mainly athletes, specifically football and basketball players. What some may wonder is why it took so many years for athletes to come and speak out against what a lot of people would consider academic injustice. Well, one of the reasons is that there is a sense of being stuck in the spiral of silence when it comes to being a part of the NCAA brand, especially when it comes to what is done to keep athletes not only eligible for their sports season, but also on track to receive a bachelor's degree. Athletes such as Michael McAdoo and Rashad McCants broke the silence and spoke up against their experiences in certain classroom environments, persuaded to them by counselors and other athletes on campus. Not only did athletes break the silence, but alongside them, staff members of the university stood by them and what they were speaking up to and against. Whistleblower Mary William, a former learning specialist for athletes on UNC's campus, went public and said the same thing as athletes, that the classes presented to the athletes were easier and kept struggling athletes eligible. The institution on May 2nd, 2012, released a report of 54 classes taught by a single professor over a 4-year span that had little to no instructional contact. The classes were taught by the Julius Nyangoro. UNC sports programs deemed this as a fraud upon the academic side, not on the side of athletics, and should be handled by the school's higher commander of academia. In a sense, this is the school trying to once again silence those whom are trying to speak against how his brand is seen in the eye of the public, using the communication framing theory that will be analyzed and researched is now the content of U.S. media. Articles portray North Carolina and the ongoing case with the NCAA and the final decision that was made in October of 2017. 7 years prior to the initial investigation of the infamous tweet by football player Marvin Austin stating financial benefits given to athletes by agents, and 2 years prior to the first NCAA charges of extra benefits and lack of institutional control. The articles that will be studied and dissected will not all be sports articles, but some even from the New York Times, the Washington Post, ESPN, and more. Why is this so important to sports management professionals? Well, mainly because in sports management, you need a strong value system. These days, there is a lack of such judgment. Anyone in this field should want a scandal-free career. Yet in this case, that is the complete opposite. It was a giant scandal that got stretched out for multiple years and remained on the specific coach's head for the rest of his life. Another skill is decision making. When you're a leader, you have to make decisions, and they should always be for the right reasons and for bettering the team or the people you're leading. This is another example of what not to do. He made this decision for himself and the team, but it wasn't the right one. The coach gave him and his team a bad name, and now the school as well. Coaches can learn from this, and so can players. Coaches can realize that even though you kept your players eligible, you lost your name and brand in the process. Nobody believes that this team deserves their trophies anymore or all the support that was given to them for the banners that they won. And the players now know that even if they're getting the easy way out, they shouldn't want that. They should want to get their classes done and be eligible the right way. They are now part of a big ordeal because they want to get by and play sports without any effort.